All right, we just did if functions, and now we're going to look at something called nested if functions. Where did it go? There it is. All right. And in this case, they're going to use the if function, which is why I did the if function to start. And I don't know if this link is still active or not. And you could look up the if function statement and look at what this author did. Doesn't matter. Hopefully I gave you enough information in my view of the if function that you understand basically how it works. And you could go to YouTube or any place else, look at some videos for other examples, because the if function is so versatile. The ways you can create logical statements to test a cell is amazing. You know, I could spend hours going over things that you might never have thought of, wow, you could do that with an if function. It is definitely one of the more powerful functions, and you can combine the if function with other functions or even multiple if functions, one inside of the other, in order to do some very complicated things. So for this, the author is using some basic data. And let me turn off the non-printing characters because that's just making things look ugly here. There, with the non-printing characters not showing it, with them hidden, the show hide button, which we've talked about, it looks a little cleaner. So here is a sample of some sales numbers in various districts for employees of this company. It shows their name, which district they are working in, their sales numbers, and how long they have been on the job. Okay, so that's the data, but there's also a blank column E for the job level. So let's pretend this data, which shows your sales people's district, annual sales, and number of years employed by your company. Now let's suppose you want a formula in column E that will assign a job level based on two different criteria, not one like we did in the previous example. Salespeople who have been employed for more than 5 years and have annual sales of more than $10,000 should be assigned a job level code of 2. And all others should have a job level code of 1. So we need 2 tests. They have to be there 5 years, and they need to have their sales of more than $10,000. Now, if your annual sales is $10,000, you're not even paying your own salary. So my guess is these are numbers in thousands to make sense. Or they would be numbers of units, 10,000 units of sale, and a unit can be anything. If I sell 10,000 cars in a year, I'm the best car salesman on earth, unless you're doing bulk sales or something. Anyway. So to include 2 criteria, when both criteria must met, you must nest an and function within your if statement. So we have the and function nested inside, and it gives us this. Let's look at the and function for just a moment. What is the and function doing here? If I say equals and open parenthesis, it is asking for a logical test. Well, let's do a logical test. A4 is greater than 25. That's false, right? And that's what the AND function does. And it's not obvious when you get into Excel and you study some of the history and usage and ways that you can use these functions. The logical test, true and false, of the AND function might become a little more clear, but it's not intuitively obvious. What if A4 is less than 25? Well, that's true. So the AND function is a very good additional function that we could use. And we could just say, did it pass? That could be a column. Instead of result, I could just say, did this value pass? And in this case, I should have, less than 25. And I can copy that down. True, false, true, false. It matches exactly the if function results that I did here. The AND function is a perfectly valid alternative way of doing this. Now, in this case, I would need conditional formatting. Text is true with green, and an additional level, I'm stacking conditions on it, an additional condition that if it says false, it is red. And it works. With the additional benefit, if you call it that, I don't really care, but if there is no value here, you notice they all say pass? With the if function, they don't say anything with the AND function, but if I continue, even though there's nothing there that you can see in column C, it automatically fills in. The AND function is beautiful. You don't see anything there. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. I'm sorry. That is not true. I had blanks and Excel is doing this. I'm sorry. Scratch that last part. It will show, blanks will show as true. I made a mistake there, but that's okay. I think it's good for me to show you that I make mistakes too, and that I need to practice these and use them. And, you know, I'm just going cold on this to go through some of this, and I haven't used them in a few years, actually. Last time I taught this class was, I think, 3 years ago. Maybe it was 2 years ago. And the AND and if function is something that the only times I do use them, right now anyway, are in files that I've already got set up. I've got them already built in my tax summary. I've got a worksheet that I do every year to get to know where I'm going. I got all kinds of functions in there. Do I have to retype those functions? No, they're the same ones every year. And there's some other data that I keep track of in various aspects of my life. Grading files is one of them. And I've already got the data evaluation equations using if and and functions where necessary already built. So I don't go into this that often and create new ones, but you need to know how to do it. and you need to know how to test it. So here is, back to where we were, the AND function nested within the if function. So with the AND function, it is basically saying that there is some sort of a logical test here. The AND function is looking at this entire thing within the parentheses. Is this statement true? You need it to be greater than $10,000. You need the value of years greater than 5. If these things are true, then the value is going to be 2. If that logical test is not true, if it's false, then the result returned is 1. Is it easy to remember all of these things? No, I go into tutorials all the time when I'm trying to think of something new, when I'm creating new equations, and I go through tutorials to figure out some new ways of using the date function, the if function, the and function, etc., and how to solve those problems. And I also keep sets of Excel examples, worksheet examples, where I have figured it out. So a year from now, if I need to do something, I go, I know I've done something like that before. Let me go into my folder of Excel function examples and see if I have already created a function that is similar to what I'm trying to do now. And I can just tweak it and make it work with today's problem. So things like this might look really complicated, and I promise I will not ask you to create a nested if function during an exam. But you should understand what they are and how to do it. So you're going to grab cell E2 by its fill handle and drag it down to E8. So let's go back up to that, E2 to E8. What are we talking about? E2. So once I put that equation that we just looked at in here, you just grab the fill handle, which would be at the lower right-hand corner, and drag it down. Or you could highlight E2 to E8, just highlight them all and hit Control D. Control with my pinky, D with my middle finger probably, maybe my index finger, depending on how you put your hand on the typing keyboard. Control D is the same as using that handle in the lower right corner of an Excel cell to copy down. All right. You see the formula uses a nested AND function for its logical test. Its logical test is that AND function. The AND function will decide if both conditions are true. So the AND function can look at multiple logical tests with a comma separating them. The example I gave you, and A5 is less than 25 in my contamination test, that's one logical test. If I hit a comma, I could do multiple logical tests. And that's largely where that AND is testing not just one thing, but multiple. I could look at this one. Why is it called AND? Because I can do AND logical test. A4 is less than 25. Now this is silly. This makes no sense, but I can just show you how AND is working. A8 is greater than 3. A11 equals 3. Are all of those things true? Yes. But if I change any one of them, what if A11 equals 4? If any one of them is false, then I get false. Now, is that equation in this context, in this grouping here, does that make any sense at all? No. But there could be another example where you're looking at this. Maybe you're going to test, I guess, to keep to the contamination level test. And one of the questions that you might ask, was our machine number 1 clean all month? And so you could use an AND function that tests, is the January 1st level data less than 25? The January 2nd level data, is that less than 25? And you could have 31 AND tests looking for all of them less than 25. And if any one of them failed at that machine over 31 days of testing, it says fail. And then you can say, all right, we don't have a perfect record of cleanliness on that machine. What's going on? We should go through and have 0 contamination tests that show a problem. Again, the AND function can look at multiple values, multiple logical tests, I should say. Remember, the if function's second and third arguments return a value if true and a value if false. So if the AND function returns a value of true, AND function looks at everything you throw at it. They're either all true or they're not all true. That's all the AND function can do. It's either true or false. And so if the AND function returns true, a value of 2 will be placed. The employee gets a level 2. If it returns false, it returns a value of 1. That's the if function. So again, let's look at this. The AND function is controlled within these parentheses. The first parentheses, the one just to the left of and just to the right of 10,000. The AND function is right here. And the AND function is being used as the the second one to the right, because there's parentheses here. The AND function needs its own internal parentheses. The AND function has the parentheses around the logical tests, which is the one next to D2 and the one to the right of 10,000. That is the set of parentheses surrounding the logical tests for the AND function. But the AND function itself, the entire thing needs to be in a parentheses to nest it inside of the if function, to call it the logical test of the if function, because it's an entire other function for the logical test of the if function. It needs its own set of parentheses. And that's the one right here next to the and the second one next to the 10,000. That's nesting the entire and function, including its own set of parentheses. And then every equation or function has a set of parentheses. So the if function parentheses are this first one here and the one way over here. Of all the things that get confusing the most in Excel functions, when you start nesting is the parentheses. And sometimes you just have to take a deep breath and walk from the inside out is what I find the most useful. And if all else fails, go to Google, find an example of something that looks similar, that already works, copy and paste it into your spreadsheet and tweak it. At least the parentheses are right. You can change the logical test, you can change other things, but at least you're copying something off of an example off the internet where the parentheses are right, because that is the hard part for many people, myself included. Now I've been doing it long enough that, you know, if I just take a deep breath and look carefully, I can figure out the parentheses, but it sometimes takes patience. All right. So we've got all these parentheses here, but we've got just one logical test, which is the entire and function. If that logical test is true, it returns a value of 2. If that logical test is false, it returns a value of 1. All right. And I just explained that, a value of 1. This formula, if entered correctly, should show job level code 2 for Joe and Mary only, because they are the only two who have worked for the company more than 5 years and had an annual sales greater than $10,000. Similarly, you can use a nested OR function if you want a job level code of 2 to be applied if an employee is either criteria instead of both criteria. Let's hold on a second. I'm actually going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.